Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. It is time for me to open up my Altenew Mini Delight Kit of the month. And not only did I get something I wanted this month, but I got something that went perfectly for a project I wanted to do. So join me as I walk you through that project and see how I use these supplies. Let's go ahead and start with that unboxing. So here is my Altenew kit, and I have been wanting to play with some flowers, and Altenew is known for their flowers. I have no idea what's in this kit, but when I pull it out, there are flowers. I wanted die cut flowers, which it turns out that the stamp is flowers, but the die cut, as you'll see here, is a pair of glasses. But this gets me excited in another way because I just had to go into the eye doctor and get new glasses. I do this every year. I cannot see without my glasses on, so I always have to take selfies of me trying on different frames so that I can actually see what they look like on me. So I have all of these photos sitting on my phone of me trying on various glasses, and some of them are really hideous. I liked the color of them on the shelf, but when I put them on my face, they are terrible. So I wanted to do a layout about these glasses and the process that I have to go through every year. I've pulled out some basic cardstock. I think my cardstock is from Spellbinders and my stamping ink is from Concord and Ninth. I die cut some title letters off stage and I'm going to zhuzh those up with my stamp. In fact, I'm going to do a lot of the layout with the cardstock and stamping instead of using pattern paper. So I'm kind of giving a test out on my supplies to see how well they're coordinating because they are from different manufacturers, and I'm liking how it's going together. Okay, so I go ahead and stamp the floral pattern across my letters. I'm worried that some of the detail of the flowers is going to kind of get lost on the letters, and that is a little true, but you'll see how I kind of fix that up a little bit in the end to make these letters kind of stand out for my title. And so far, I'm liking it okay. I start to lay them out on my page to see what it's going to look like, and then I will go ahead and finish off the rest of the title off screen. In the meantime, I took some of the photo paper that I cut off from printing my photos, and I'm going to make these little dots, which is the center of the flower, on these banners that I cut from that excess photo paper. So I'm going to zhuzh that up a little bit with some ink blending and these little center flowers as asterisk. I'm having a hard time with this word, asterisks. Bullet points. I don't know if I got it. So I've got some handwriting that I'm going to do on some of these photos that are going to say, yeah, meh, okay, and heck no, I think is one of them. So I will finish all of that off, or I already did finish all of that off camera, and I've got those attached to each photo, and you'll see that closer a little bit later. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to do my stamping on my background. I knew I wanted to include some shadowy images of the florals and some more bold images of the florals. So I pulled out my Concord and Ninth Pebble ink, which is a great gray brown, but in a very soft tone. So it makes a great shadow in the background to add to other stamping. And then I'm doing it in the same blue that I've got going on with my title. And I'm going to create at least 3 different areas of the stamping. I do have this photo mat cut here that I'm going to attach a final selfie of myself with the glasses that I ended up choosing for everyday wear. I usually have to get at least 2 pairs, one for distance and one for kind of everyday, computer stuff that I do on a regular basis. So I do have at least 2 of these frames that I get to keep. So yeah, I am creating at least 3 zones of this stamping in the dual tones so that I can create my own pattern paper background. Now these stamps have layers to them. Instead of doing ink blending or coloring in, they have these layers here that are labeled so you know how to layer them up. And while they are labeled, you do know which flower they go with. You have to figure out which orientation they will sit on that flower. So I'm doing a little bit of testing on my scratch paper, and as I start to go to my main flower, I'm still feeling a little unconfident. I'm not very confident about how these are lining up, so I will go back to that test scratch paper and try it over one of those subtle stampings that I did, but it is a little hard to see it. At any rate, I am trying it out, and I'm also doing a second generation stamping. So I ink up my stamp, Let's take a quick look at it. My camera does not like to focus on these very pale colors, but I'll show you a better look at that a little bit later after I do all these stamps. So yes, I am doing second gen stamping with the floral color, where I ink it up, stamp once off on the scratch paper, and then stamp that second time straight on my flower. For the flower centers, I'm not doing the second gen, and in fact, I will do multiple stampings. This is the flower center that I used as my asterisk. I got the word. And I'm actually going to stamp that 3 times so I can have a contrast between that and the other flower center layer. So that will be a lighter yellow, and then this one will be a darker yellow. And yes, the color palette I picked for this page was yellow and blue. And here is a little bit of a closer look at those flowers. And again, I have to tip them very specifically in the light to get my camera to catch the soft colors. But I really like how it turned out. I think they are beautiful. And I think the second gen stamping was the way to go with those flowers. So they lend detail and pattern and shape without overwhelming some of the other elements on the layout. All right, with everything attached down, it is time to add more details to my layout. I'm going to stamp on the date with one of my infinite roller stamps, get my journaling on there. And then I realized I want to use some more of these stamps. This sentiment says, "Hello, sunshine," but I'm going to cut this stamp apart. Let me know if this makes you cringe, because this is something I learned from Jennifer McGuire. Those scissors were too big for the detail of this stamp, so I'm going to have to grab a smaller pair of scissors. And I took off my glasses so I can get this right up close to my face so I don't cut off any letters, and I cut my stamp apart. And this does not bother me at all because I can just put it back together and use it exactly as intended, but I just want the word hello. And I'm going to stamp that in various ways on my layout. The first way is to add a little bit of a subtle border along my main photo collage, and I'm just going to hand stamp this and do the best I can to get it lined up. It isn't perfect, but because it's subtle, that is okay. And here's a little peek of that. It is very subtle even on camera. All right, and then I'm going to add some of this also to my main focal photo in a bolder color so that it shows up a little bit better. And that is some of these little details that I like to add when I do a layout just with a small set of supplies. So there we go. I've got that one finished, and now it is time for die cutting. And I really like this glasses die, and I'm gonna have fun playing with this one. I don't know what else I'll do with it, but it is definitely a fun one. All right, I pulled out some scraps of cardstock trying to figure out how all these layers go together, and I will figure out what colors I want to use because I've got that blue and yellow color palette. I am leaning towards blues, yellows, kind of altering up my blues a little bit, more tealy blue, more soft blue. So I will die cut a whole bunch of pieces and figure out what I want to use. And here is a little tip. This set has these teeny tiny little dots that are the kind of rivets that hold the glasses together. When I die cut those, if they're stuck to my mat, I will pick them up with a piece of tape. These stayed attached in my cardstock, so I just picked those up with a piece of tape, fold the tape so I have a little bit of a handle, and then set them in my tray, and that way they won't get lost. Now the Altenew sets have their keyhole system, which are little shapes that punch out, and then you match up those shapes so you know which pieces go where. I think on this set it was pretty unnecessary to have that, but it's there in case you don't understand how to put this set together. Yet I found that even when the keyholes seemed to be lined up just right, the shape of the glasses weren't quite right because the arms of the glasses were sitting at wonky angle, so I just eyeballed it anyway. At any rate, I'm going to finish these up. Another trick to these is that you put the bridge piece on first before you glue on the tops of those frames. But you can do these without the tops of the frames, without that bridge piece, so you can mix and match these pieces however you like. I did make this particular frame, oh, and I'm putting on those teeny tiny rivets now. I did make this particular frame very bold because that was some of the glasses I tried on. And then for my second frame, I am making it a tortoise shell using ink blending because that is the style of frame I chose as my daily wear frame. So I had fun playing with mixing and matching colors and ink blending to create things that kind of fit in with my experience. And there we go. I got the camera to focus and you can see the start of that tortoise shell blending. And with a few darker splotches of color add in there, that will finish up my ink blending. I've added those glasses onto my layout, one near my title and one down near my journaling. I kept the pair that looks more like what I am choosing to keep down near my journaling and the boulder pair up at the top. The problem is now that that boulder pair is drawing more attention than the title is. So I pulled out a tiny ink blending brush and I'm going to add some yellow to my title to help it hold its own against that die cutting. So there we go. That's what that looks like in the end. And I'll show off the rest of this layout and eventually I will get that final photo in there as well. I have a few close-ups to share as we go, and hopefully you can see some more of the detail, like the difference in the tones of the flowers, the inking that I did on my glasses, and just the prettiness of the overall design, and a little bit of a laugh at some of these glasses that did not work and the ones that did. So that's my project. I know a lot of Altenew subscribers are card makers, but I really like to mix and match my supplies across all of the paper arts that I create. I hope you enjoyed seeing me use these typically card making supplies on a scrapbooking layout, and if you enjoyed something about this video, I would love to know what it is. I will be back soon with more crafty videos for you, and until then, have an artful day.